was ready to fly on my own. You grew to love me, baby.
The hallway and shared with me that, and at that time only one of the trade centers had been hit, so they had told me that one of the planes had gone into the first World Trade Center. And I remember going outside and the air felt crisp. It was nice and clean and clear on that day. September 12th was very, very different. Now back then, and I know I'm going to date myself a little bit, but we didn't all have cell phones. We didn't have internet access to the same ability that you guys do. And so it was really hard to stay connected with everybody. Major roads were shut down, so it was hard to get in and out of work. And it was really hard. Like I remember September 12th, really just not being very afraid, being unsure of what the date was going to unfold. They cut down a lot of cell phones, not just cell phones, but phone use, so you could get to communicate with everybody. So I was very, very scared on September 12th. I didn't want to go to school or go to work that day. But I remember, so it used to take me about a half hour to get to work. The day on September 11th, it took me 4 hours to get home. And the next day, it took me 3 hours to get to work. So there was a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, and a lot of people were having a hard time communicating. Like the news was telling stories, but the stories were changing all the time, so we really didn't know everything that was happening. So I didn't know anybody really at school. I didn't know where I was in terms of where people were. But I remember he reached out to me, and he became a really good friend to me at that time. He cared about me, he asked how my family was every day, and I learned the one thing that really brought me together was to care about everybody else. To make sure we took time, had my students talk to each other up front. As teachers, we spoke to each other. We talked about the events. We talked about how we were feeling, but we made sure that we were telling our friends and our colleagues, the people we work with, how much they meant to us. And I think that if there's one thing I can share with you guys, it's either, I know that you weren't around when that event happened, but to really appreciate each other, to know how much, your teachers care for you, and how as a country that we need to continue to care for one another. We need to continue to be proud of being part of the United States. And that, that fear that we all were worried about, we became stronger because of it. And so I think that that's something I'd like to leave you guys with.
Or MTV maybe. So I'm actually in New York City right now. I'm 18 Rockefeller Plaza. If you guys have ever seen that, there's a Christmas time on September 11th, right? When that all happened, right? I was actually right after the first hit. I was actually waiting on a subway platform to go to work, and at the time I worked in Times Square, which, again, if you've ever been to New York or seen pictures, that's that place where all those big TVs are, and it's where the ball drops on New Year's Eve, because it was so many different things. There was a lot of people were confused because everyone was trying to figure out what happened and why it happened. It was very sad because a lot of people didn't know what happened to their loved ones. They were missing. They didn't know, where they were, if they were coming home, if they were down there at ground zero, what was going on. And then there was also a different kind of feeling because it was like for the first time people were being really supportive of each other, and they were cheering on our police and our firemen, and just really supportive of them, kind of thankful that they were there and that they were helping and that they were doing everything they can, and people just wanted to help each other. And there was this feeling of you just wanted to hug a stranger, because it was something that didn't just happen to you, it happened to everyone, to not just every New Yorker, but to all Americans. So there was a lot of different feelings going on, and there was also the feeling of being afraid. What was coming? What did this mean?